Hi, I am Zaid, and today we are going to discuss China's FDI inflows. This section we will take an overview of China's FDI inflows. But first of all, let's understand what is the meaning of FDI. According to the IMF's Balance of Payment Manual, FDI is defined as an investment that is made to acquire a lasting interest in an enterprise operating in an economy other than that of an investor. The investor's purpose being to have a voice in the management of the enterprise. It can also be said that a resident entity or country establishes a long-term relationship with an enterprise of another country outside its own country, enjoys lasting benefits and controls it. This kind of investment involves both the initial transactions between two entities and all subsequent transactions between them and foreign branches, whether joint or non-joint. Since the initiation of reforms, China has always adhered to a policy of opening up to the outside world and attracting investors from all over. China has been attracting foreign direct investment for nearly 40 years, which has promoted the process of China's marketization and which has played an important role in China's economic growth. I would like to begin by first showing FDI inflows into China since the initiation of reforms and the opening up of the country. Let's take a look at the first chart. As the first chart shows, we can see that from 1984 to 1991, inflows of FDI into China were relatively small, and the growth rate was slow. However, from 1992 to 1995, FDI grew quite rapidly, revealing a new growth rate. Although downturns have been observed in the years 1999, 2005, and 2009, the overall trend is steadily rising. It is from this that we can draw the following conclusions. The inflow of FDI in China has been increasing steadily since the implementation of reforms and the opening up of the economy. Total FDI inflows have not been affected by changes in the world economic situation. As we can see, FDI inflows in China over the past few decades can be roughly divided into three stages. The first stage, from 1992 to 1995, rapid growth stage. Following Deng Xiaoping's speech on his southern tour in 1992, foreign businessmen were attracted by China's policy changes, and their enthusiasm to invest in the country increased significantly. The tour proved to be a success, and it did result in a strong surge of FDI inflows into the country. Meanwhile, in order to cope with new developments in the sphere of FDI, a state started to introduce more preferential policies for foreign enterprises. The principle of a market for technology was also put forward at this time. The investment arena was further expanded, allowing foreign investment to enter financial, commercial, and other service industries. Now, the second era was from 1996 to 2001. Adjustment, improvement, and steady state development. During this period of time, a notable feature was that foreign investors were shifting away from equity participation and export sales to complete ownership, building a stronger presence in the market. Relatedly, the Chinese government maintained a relatively objective attitude in the face of new problems arising from foreign investment and the difficulties of state-owned enterprise. Now, the third era was from 2002 to present, high-speed and stable growth stage. China's accession to the WTO in 2001 accelerated the opening of the country's economic reforms, one that was gradual and partial to one that became large-scale and fully open. This raises an interesting question. How can China remain attractive to foreign investors in the long term when global FDI has been in decline for 3 consecutive years? Now, the main reasons are as follows. You can see the Chinese economy has maintained rapid growth for a sustained long period of time. Its huge development potential as well as its numerous investment opportunities are among the most important reasons attracting foreign investors into the market. However, although the average rate of annual growth has declined slightly since the country entered the so-called new normal development stage, annual growth rates have still exceeded 6%, ranking China as among one of the fastest growing economies in the world. China's huge market potential and demand remain the key factors attracting foreign investors to the country. Now, the second reason could be, in recent years, improvements in China's investment environment have undoubtedly maintained and enhanced China's attractiveness to foreign investment. At the same time, the reduction of negative foreign capital in the country, while at the same time implementing new reforms, provides new market access opportunities for other types of foreign capital. For example, reforms carried out across 171 free trade pilot zones in 5 batches, covering the field of trade and investment facilitation and business environment improvement, have been gradually replicated throughout the country. Thus, the overall level of China's investment environment has been continuously improved, further enhancing its attractiveness to foreign investors. Now, the third reason could be with China's industrial upgrading as well as the development of its innovative technology and formats. The country has seen a rise in the number of emerging industries with great development potential and the fastest growth in the world. This includes cross-border e-commerce and new electric motor vehicles. These industries are first class in terms of industrial scale, market capacity, and their respective business model. Tesla's investment in Shanghai serves a good example. Now, the impact of anti-globalization in various forms has led China to becoming the standard bearer and the pillar in maintaining global multilateralism. This provides a rare opportunity for foreign capital and for multinational companies to invest in China. The World Investment Report 2019 highlighted that 112 investment policies and measures had been introduced across 55 economies in 2018, of which 34% were measures to restrict or regulate foreign investment, setting a record on that of 2003. At present, the overall level of liberalization in respect of FDI policy has fallen internationally. The promulgation and implementation of China's foreign investment law, the continuous reduction of negatively listed foreign investments, as well as the gradual replication and promotion of 171 experiences in pilot free trade zone, all confirm China's firm determination to further open up and greatly enhance foreign investment confidence in the country. So what are the source structures of FDI in China? As we can see, the sources of overseas direct investment in China based on FDI stock in 2017 are from Hong Kong, 52.6%, the British Virgin Islands 10.6%, Japan 6.1%, Singapore 4.0%, and Germany 3.2%. At present, the main source of FDI inflows in China is from Asia. For example, in 2015, the China's FDI inflows totaled $126.27 billion, of which Asia accounted for $104.16 billion, almost 82.49% of the total amount. Specifically, investment from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan totaled $86.39 billion, accounting for 82.94% of the total FDI in Asia. The second largest source of FDI comes from Singapore, South Korea, and Japan, with investment amounting to 6.1%, 4.03%, and $3.19 billion respectively, and accounting for 5.78%, 3.78%, and 3.07% of the total FDI inflows. The third largest source is from the United States, with FDI inflows of $2.09 billion, accounting for 2.01% of the total. FDI from other sources accounting for less than 2.5%. The source distribution of FDI is related to China's own economic development level and geographical factors. Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, and other East Asian countries are closer to China. Cultural differences are smaller and transportation costs are lower. For these reasons, they are more inclined to invest in China. Another reason concerning the fact that China's cheap labor force is a core factor in Japan's decision to invest in the country. Japan has a small land area and relatively small population and natural resources, while China has numerous labor resources and relatively low labor cost. This competitive advantage is the core factor behind the scale of Japanese transnational investments. In addition, the equality of the population determines its productivity. Only when a country has both lower labor cost and high labor productivity will it have a competitive advantage in attracting foreign investment compared to other countries. China's coastal areas are better industrially developed, have a higher quality of labor and higher labor productivity. Labor costs are lower than those in Japan. Therefore, in order to cut product costs, Japan will continuously transfer its domestic labor-intensive industries to coastal cities in China. Now, how is FDI distributed according to sector in China? This chart shows the more specific sectoral distribution of FDI in China. Most of China's FDI flows go into the secondary industry, followed by the tertiary and primary sectors. In terms of the total amount, most of the FDI in China in 2015 was invested in the secondary sector and the tertiary sector, which stood at $43.6 billion and $81.4 billion respectively. FDI flowing into these two major sectors accounted for 98.78% of the total FDI in China. In the year 2000, FDI in the secondary sector accounted for 80% of the total, but in 2015 this index was only 34.53%, and the proportion of FDI accounted by the tertiary sector increased from 18% to 64%. This suggests that foreign capital switched from the secondary to tertiary sector. Now, we know that the current flow of FDI mainly has the following characteristics. Foreign direct investment in China is mainly concentrated in the secondary sector. The proportion of FDI flowing into the tertiary sector has gradually increased since 2004. The analysis shows that inward FDI is directly related to China's main economic structure. Foreign investment is mainly concentrated in the secondary sector, especially in the manufacturing industry, which is consistent with policy and liberalization of the economy. In contrast to other industries, China's manufacturing industry has been open to foreign investment for a long time, and the degree of openness is relatively high. Many industries have few restrictions to foreign investment and the proportion of equality. However, many areas of the tertiary sector have varying degrees of restrictions implemented on foreign investment. And this has been the case for a long period of time. Although China's key areas of liberalization to outside world have gradually shifted to the service industry since joining the WTO. The opening of the tertiary sector has been greatly accelerated. Foreign businessmen have shown higher enthusiasm and have high expectations from service industry investment. However, due to the immature development of the market in some service industries, various barriers to competition still exist, which negatively affects actual investment of multinational companies. The output value of secondary sector as a proportion of China's GDP not only exceeds that of the primary and tertiary industries combined, but after more than half of a century of industrialization, the country's secondary industry has formed a relatively complete internal structure and strong industrial support capability. The domestic market for industrial products is relatively large and market mechanisms are relatively well developed. These provide the right conditions for multinational companies to transfer manufacturing capacity to China and to compete in the industrial product markets. Next, we analyze the location distribution of FDI from different sources. When multinational companies make investment decisions, they pay attention to the choice of location for their capital in addition to their internal company factors. Location is a comprehensive embodiment of geographical location, traffic conditions, and economic development, while agglomeration is a core factor influencing the choice of location. The agglomeration effect refers to the concentration of a country's industry gradually gathering in a specific region over time, including both production and social agglomeration. Agglomeration can be achieved by the companies of scale of enterprise as well as the division of labor brought about the cooperation between enterprises in the same industrial sector in a given region. The location choice of FDI in China shows a very significant agglomeration effect. Usually, the industrial agglomeration of FDI results in increasing economies of scale, and foreign investors usually prefer to invest in fixed locations in order to achieve such outcomes. Specifically, industrial agglomeration is conducive to a formation of a complete industrial chain, which can reduce transaction costs and enhance regional economic competitiveness. In addition, industrial agglomeration will stimulate internal competition, promote enterprises to accelerate technological research and development, improve productivity, and gradually work towards ensuring that their industries become the leading ones in this region. The entry of FDI promotes industrial agglomeration and helps to optimize the industrial structure through industrial association and technological spillovers. This chart shows that there are obvious special differences in the distribution of FDI in China according to region. Most of the FDI is distributed across the eastern coastal provinces, while FDI in the central and western region is relatively low. In the year 2000, FDI inflows into the eastern provinces accounted for 87%, while inflows in the central provinces accounted for 9.7%. The western regions only attracted 3.2% of the total. The eastern provinces of Guangdong, Jiangsu, Shanghai, and Shandong attracted the most foreign capital, while the central and western provinces of Qinghai, Ningxia, Xinjiang, Guizhou, and Gansu attracted the least. However, promotion and gradual improvements in levels of Western development, the actual FDI gap between the East and the West, though still large, but has been reduced and stood at 53% in 2015. That's the overview for this section. Thank you so much for your time.